In the world of rock and roll, there aren't many musicians who have embodied the spirit of eccentricity and mystery, quite like bassist Don Costa. While Costa played in early versions of Great White and W.A.S.P, he's probably most remembered for his time in Ozzy Osbourne's band. Known for his wild stage antics and unparalleled talent, Costa was recently found dead after decades of losing touch with family, friends, and fans. Coming up, you'll hear my interview with Don Costa's sister Sara, but before we get to that, here's a story Jakey Lee told after the guitarist was asked if he had ever witnessed Ozzy fire anyone. Lee said, "I think the worst one was when he fired Don Costa, who was the bass player when I joined the band, and he was only in it for maybe 3 months or something. We did the European tour opening for Whitesnake, and then we did some American gigs, makeup gigs that were canceled because of Randy Rhoads' passing. And then one day, Don got called to the back of the bus by Ozzy, and maybe 3 minutes later, Don came running out of the back holding his face. There was blood all over his face. He ran off the bus. I was like, holy shit. I walked back, I saw Ozzy, and he just looked at me, and I said, what happened? He said he tried to kiss me. I said, wait a minute, you're telling me the bass player just went to the back of the bus and tried to kiss you? And he said, yeah, that's my story. So I went out and asked Don what happened, and he said, I don't know, I just went back there. Ozzy said he had something to say, and he said, come closer, come closer. And as soon as I got close enough, he headbutted me in the nose. I was like, oh shit, I think you just got fired. In the ensuing weeks after that, the very next gig was going to be the W.A.S.P Festival. I think that was maybe 3 weeks away. Basically, Ozzy assaulted him. I talked to Don, and he said they worked it all out. He signed an agreement that he would never press charges or anything, and then I think they spent $5,000 to have his nose fixed through plastic surgery. I said to Don, okay, but you're not in the band anymore? And he said, no, I'm still in the band. I said, really? So you're going to play the W.A.S.P Festival? And he said, yeah, they told me to show up on a certain day at a certain time. So we get to the festival. I was there and I saw Bob Daisley there. I walked up to him and said, hi, my name's Jake. What's going on? And Bob said, oh, I'm playing bass for you now. I said, you are? Well, I don't think the other guy knows that. Then I saw Don pulling up, and I ran out to him, and I said, hey, what are you doing? I showed up for the gig. I brought my family with me. They're all coming to see me play. I wasn't going to tell them, so I said, okay, and I walked away. And I saw him, he's all happy, he's all smiling, he's got his family with him. I saw him walk up to the bus. I saw Sharon come up and tell him that he wasn't in the band anymore, and it was horrible. I mean, if you're going to fire somebody, why do it like that? And now, here's my interview with Don Costa's sister, Sara. Very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
With Don, were you guys ever close?
Yeah, we were. We were close. I moved to LA, so I was about 18, and he'd be about 22. We were close then. Off and on, you probably heard a lot about his personality and the way he was and all that stuff from his other bandmates. And so, yeah, we were close as kids, but we were also close later on. And then we didn't see each other for many years. So we were estranged by the time he had passed like 3 weeks ago.
But you guys grew up together as little kids?
Yeah, sure did. It was me, my sister, and him. My mom has other kids from her first marriage, but we're all 3 full brother-sisters.
Were you talking to him during the Dante Fox and W.A.S.P and that period, or Ozzy period?
Yeah. I was in LA doing my thing, dancing, and I was doing a film at the time, and he had just started with, I think before Ozzy, he was playing with different people, and I remember those guys being at our apartment all the time. W.A.S.P and some of Motley Crue's guys, and I know he hung out with David Lee Roth for a while, and I'm not, it wasn't close. There was a sibling rivalry for sure. He didn't want me around his guys. By the time he joined Ozzy, I was sort of pushed out, and he went full guns with that, and we lost touch, or he just kind of went on the road with Ozzy, and I was like, okay, well, I'll see you around, I guess. We did lose touch, and, he was doing his thing, so that's understandable. But I'm really glad that you're doing this, because I just want I want his talent to be out there still, and people to remember his talent, and
Oh, he was so cool. It's and I've been just relentlessly through the years searching. I've gotten a lot of stories. Tony Richards, I don't know if you're from. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had just some really cool stuff to say about Don, how cool he was.
Well, my story's going to be quite. I mean, I obviously, there's things that I don't think that in his defense, since he's not here to defend himself, I wouldn't be rude or mean about him. But it was tough because for some reason he was indifferent to his family for a long time. And, it hurt a lot because I'd come to town and I thought we were going to do stuff together. And we kind of did at first. It was crazy, but I don't have those kind of stories. I've got some, they're not so good.
He was such a mystery. I mean, basically, it's Ozzy that goes down with Ozzy, and then that's it. Nobody hears from him again, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been dealing with my family's been dealing with all the paperwork and trying to get things settled. And we hadn't talked to him for years and years. And, of course, the next of kin were going to be called. But he had a whole life in L.A. without us. I moved to Vegas, and I hadn't seen him for years and years. So he did have another life, and I've been talking to those people, and they're super sweet. And it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know he did that. Oh, I didn't know he was like that.
Talking to, like, ex-bandmates or what?
No, just people he was living with and friends and people that got close with him.
So how did you find out about him passing?
The San Fernando Police Department called. They didn't have my mom's number, but they had mine and my sister's and my husband. So they called, and my husband's like, why are they calling? I know somebody there, but I wouldn't know. Are they in jail? Blah, blah, blah. And you know how many scammers there are now? We thought it was a scam because my sister's like, well, wait a minute. How do you know that's him? Are you sure? Is this, So we found out that it was him, and it was a heart attack. So we called him back, and they took fingerprints and all that. He didn't have I don't know if he had his license on him or not, but yeah, I think he just fell down and had a heart attack. It's just so sad because I thought, well, he's out there somewhere. Maybe I'll see him again,
And he was still in L.A., the area?
Yeah.
Okay. All those years, huh?
Yeah. It really only has been about 3 weeks or so.
Okay. Did you guys do the funeral already?
No, we're just we actually just signed papers to get him cremated.
I see.
So that's still being sent over, and it takes a long time because my mom's really old and she's got Alzheimer's, and she's like, oh no, and telling her she was very sad, and it's like, that was kind of difficult. We're sort of in the middle of it right now, getting things arranged and whatnot. But I just want people out there to know and to have him be sort of like noticed for his talent. That's really what I want for him to have. I hope his legacy helps people either way. He was definitely dedicated at one time.
How far apart are you on age?
4 years. Yeah, I'm 61. He would have been about 65.
And he's playing bass as you're growing up as kids?
Yeah, he got his garage band, and it was like, everybody out. Nobody's allowed in here. Brothers are like that. They don't want their sisters hanging out, especially with other band members, And he was like, he was practicing nonstop.
Are there any stories from when you guys were kids that kind of stand out? Any kind of memory from back then that involves Don?
Well, early on, he brought girls home to the house, and I'd walk in on him, and he'd be with a girl, and the clothes would be all strewn through the whole house. It's like a trail. And our parents were still there, but they were working. It's like any chance he got, he would have a girl over. That definitely was the start of his, shall I say, hoe phase. He definitely was a hoe. He got around, and he liked our girlfriends, but see, we couldn't get with his friends, even though we did hang out with his friends and bandmates, but he didn't like that. But he certainly liked our friends. So he definitely, we'd walk in on him all the time, and it's like, oh my gosh. And then, I don't know, he was such a character and comical he was so funny, and he would pull pranks on everybody. My grandma, we'd pull pranks when my grandma would stay with us every summer, and he was just always a real prankster, very protective over us too, me and my sister at school. But after that, well, as soon as he got with his band, we were out. I mean, get out of my sight type of thing. I'm just going to do what I want. Wait in line if you want to see me type of attitude. And that's how he was for a long, long time.
Paul had said that that same kind of thing, that he was in the band with him and they were great friends. And then all of a sudden, Don just kind of shut down and stopped talking to them.
Yeah, I think Paul came to L.A. I want to speak for Paul, but I mean, he came to L.A. and I saw him, and I was working at the world famous body shop, and he came to see me, and I guess Donnie might have been with Ozzy or just started with them or something, and he just kind of shut him out.
Yeah, he told me about that. But he even said in San Diego, I guess, while they had the band, that he said that he just kind of shut down and he stopped talking to them, and that he had a real great personality before that.
I think it happened, to be honest with you. I think that his downfall as far as being antisocial, because I think that's what happened. He did become kind of antisocial. He only had a few friends. George was one of his good friends in L.A. He hung out with him for a long time. And he was just acting so indifferent towards people, especially his family. We were kind of used to it, but it kind of started in San Diego. You know what? It started at that Pepper, the house on Pepper Street. You know, the one that Paul talks about? Did he talk about that at all?
Yeah. Where they rehearsed and everything?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was atrocious. I hated that house. It was run down. It looked scary, ominous. You walk in and it's falling apart. And I know the boys loved it because boys love that stuff. After he lived there, that's why I said it was haunted. I just couldn't stand being in it. My sister either. We were just like, oh, no, this is awful.
You actually felt like a strange vibe there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think he went through some changes in that house. I don't know how or why, but he really did kind of turn into, I don't know, just darker. He was always so funny, and everybody thought so. You know, he's just so funny and clever, and he just went into this dark period where he just wanted to be on his own and not talk to people, and he would only talk to certain people, and you never knew what he was going to say or what his mood was going to be. And, you know, I know that a lot of artists are like that. You know, they can be moody, but he was, I felt, in my opinion, that after that, being in that house, I think there was something in that house. I didn't like it. I never went back there. And those guys stayed there for a while. I was thinking back how he started to become a different person than what we grew up with. And I thought, man, that house had some weird things in there. I felt so.
Is there any example of that you remember?
I definitely did not like being in that house as far as feeling like you're being watched or something. There's a basement, and I knew he spent a lot of time practicing in that basement. Now, this is just me. You know, I don't know if the other people think this, but I didn't see anything, but I always felt creeped out. It was such a stereotypical house that you would see in a movie that was haunted. It was just falling apart. It was 2 stories, and it stood out. You could drive by it and say, oh, my God, what is this house? To some people, they would think, oh, this is really cool. But to others who are sensitive to these things, I saw right away, I was like, I don't like it. But I never saw ghosts. I never saw any of that. But I'm thinking, if you spend any time in a rundown house that has old memories and old history, because it was really old. It must have been over 100 years old. I mean, something's bound to be in there. And maybe it got to him and he didn't know it.
He never really came out of that from that point on, right?
That's right. You know, living in LA, living in Hollywood, well, it's creepy enough as it is. And you're bound to run into people and situations that it's been known for being haunted as well there. So everybody knows that, you know. So I don't know what he was around, who he was around, other than our close friends. And everybody was really on his side and supportive of him, especially my mom. And it's like anybody who got close to him, he pushed away. And we'd see him on and off for a couple years. And then also being an Ozzy could be the whole fame part of it and living that lifestyle. It's never healthy. I can't say everybody in the business is into drugs or alcohol, but he loved to drink. He really did. And I probably didn't agree with him.
Did you do drugs back then?
No, I did not. Not a drinker or a drug user. I don't have an addictive personality whatsoever. And that saved me. I think it really helps people in that line of work, show business or whatnot. Clean and sober.
You had mentioned that you did a movie. What was the movie?
I did a movie called Stripper. It was about 5 girls who were strippers. More so burlesque artists, shall I say. It was kind of a docudrama. It was in the 80s, 86. It's kind of a cult film now. It's the same director who did Pumping Iron.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arnold, yeah. It's out there.
So was that what you were doing as well? Or you were at that place? What was the place that you worked at?
The Body Shop.
The Body Shop?
Yes.
Okay. Were you a stripper?
I was. But, I kind of think I've always been a professional dancer. I've taken dance all my life. And I consider myself more of a dancer than just a stripper. I mean, really, it really was a great place we had magicians, comedians, vaudeville. It was really very clean cut. It wasn't debauchery in there. It was just very, upstanding burlesque type of stuff. So that was fun. I really enjoyed it. So I think it was more theme shows. You had to have a theme. You had to have costumes, and my brother would hang out and date all the girls in there if he could. The Body Shop was a real classy place that people can come and bring their wives or girlfriends, and they wouldn't be embarrassed.
Oh, okay.
You never did private dances or anything. It was all stage shows. So it was really more of a show. We had a DJ, and he'd introduce us. It really was a show type. I would say if people want to call us strippers, that's fine. But honestly, really talented people were working there. Lance Burton, the magician who used to headline here in Vegas, he started there. And then just all over the world, people would come and do magic, and they'd have comedians, and it was something else. It was one of a kind place. I don't even know if it's there anymore. There's a sushi bar right next door, and celebrities were in there all the time. And
how long did you do that for?
Probably 3 years or so.
And then what did you do after that?
Mostly audition for acting jobs and more dance jobs. And I got things here and there, modeling, bathing suit modeling, workout modeling. I was in Playboy, did an opening in New York where we met Mikhail Baryshnikov, Robert De Niro, Tony Curtis, all those people. Yeah, it was really, really, really fun to do. I stayed in New York for about 6 months.
Baryshnikov was the shit back then, right around that time, right?
Yeah, I did a chair number. I did a lot of numbers with props, and I had a chair number, and we did. Some of the girls actually performed at Studio 54, was it? No, I think it was Limelight. Disco. And we did our opening party, and we did some of our numbers. And he was there, and I was like, hi. And he said, you're very good. I said, oh, my God. Mikhail Baryshnikov said I was good. What a trip. You know who was really nice was Tony Curtis. He was such a nice guy. He took me out to a Broadway play. It was like, what?
Like a date?
Yeah. So he picked me up. I was staying, I think, at the Mayflower Hotel. He picked me up. Such a gentleman. We went in the car. We went to Broadway. We went to the show. I think the show was something like, I can't remember what the name was, but it was about, who's that actor, Broderick?
Matthew Broderick?
Matthew Broderick, I think, was in it. And I think we went to dinner, too. He brought me back to the hotel. He said, that was a great time. Kissed my hand. Said good night. I'm like, what?
And that was it? He didn't try to make a move or anything, huh?
No, he didn't. It was really sweet. It's like, I don't know, I just probably felt like just wanted to take somebody out. Why not?
You had mentioned Motley Crue or W.A.S.P. or David Lee Roth. Any stories that go with any of those guys that stand out?
Well, I remember there was a thing called the W.A.S.P Festival. It was in the 80s. I don't know if you remember that, if you're even old enough.
Of course. I mean, I was going to ask you that because in Jake's story, he goes, Don came up to him and said, oh, no, I'm not fired. My family's here to see me play. And then he gets fired. Is that what you're about to tell me? Were you there?
Oh, I didn't even know that. I was in the show. When I was working at the body shop, a friend of mine was dating David Lee Roth, and I was hanging out with the manager, but just friends. And we went up to their place one time. He had a place up in End of Sunset, David did, I think. Somehow I got involved with probably the manager. He said, I need a couple girls to open up for Van Halen, and I want to have them all painted, their bodies painted. And so I think me and 3 or 4 girls had our bodies painted with little tiny bikinis. And I guess we were up there walking around and posing or dancing or something. So we were all painted in body paint, and we were up there dancing. And then we weren't even in my brother's band. It was with Van Halen. It was just crazy.
So basically you came on right before Van Halen came on?
I think so. If I can remember, we were standing on the side, the wings there, and I think we were just sort of, on the sides, but definitely we were on stage, and we did a little something or another, and maybe through a couple of their songs. I don't know, but it was pretty wild.
While they were playing, you were dancing.
I think so, yeah. I think it was a number or 2.
Incredible, man. I wonder if is there footage online?
I don't know.
Okay.
I never looked.
Man, to look out at that crowd, what was that like looking out at, what was that, like 300,000 people?
I don't know. It was quite something. I don't know if we were, again, I can't remember. I wish I knew who else was doing that, but I can't remember if we just walked across stage, painted up, or we stood on the side, or we were on a speaker. I don't even know. We could have even been the girls that were standing there greeting people. It's hard to remember. My memory about that stuff is kind of a little hazy, but I do know that I got painted and we were models dancing around and having fun. But yeah, it was an incredible amount of people.
Your girlfriend dated David Lee Roth?
Mm-hmm.
What was he like?
Sweetheart, really nice guy. Very, very sweet. She was a very private person. She didn't really tell anybody anything. And she's a beautiful, beautiful dancer. Really, really nice girl. She didn't really talk much about him. She just said she had a lot of fun with him. He was a lot of fun. I think him and my brother used to hang out a lot. They used to walk around a lot. As I recall, my brother was hanging out with different celebrities, Sean Penn maybe, and definitely Tommy Lee.
So he was definitely doing tons of drinking and drugs then. David Lee Roth, known especially back then, big drinker, big cocaine. Sean Penn, totally Bukowski-esque.
Now, I don't know if Don did drugs. I heard that he wasn't into drugs per se. I heard that if he was, it was earlier on. So I don't know really anything about him and drugs. I just know that he was a Jack Daniels type of guy. Well, which rock star isn't a Jack Daniels?
Yeah, everybody had their bottle.
Yeah, but he went through all kinds of phases. He had the mini phases of his stage antics with the cheese grater phase.
Right.
Then he had the plastic phase, and then the tighty whitey underwear phase.
Wait, what's the plastic phase? I don't know that one.
Wrapping his body in cellophane.
Oh, okay. Maybe I did, yeah. And then he'd wear the underwear on stage?
Yeah. And he used to do photo shoots at the body shop. The manager would let him in, and he'd come in with a guy with a camera and take his stage shots. And they were really cool. I have some of those shots. I got to dig them out, but he had chaps.
Okay.
Buttless chaps at one point. But I also think that was a David Lee Roth thing, too.
It was, and a W.A.S.P thing. They did that as well.
Well, I remember my first apartment was on Gardner and Santa Monica Boulevard. My brother was there, and I came down when I was 18, and I stayed with him. And that ended up horribly. We fought, and yeah, we didn't get along. But he was always gone. But I was in the apartment, and there would always be either some people from Motley Crue over, W.A.S.P, all of the Rat, what other animal? I don't know how many others, but they would all hang out outside the window, smoking and talking, and that was interesting. I was never a groupie, so I never really cared about any of those guys as far as, oh, I got to be around these guys. No, I had my own thing, you know. I wasn't into that scene. It's probably a good thing I wasn't. But my brother and I used to talk about, okay, I'm going to be a go-go dancer in his show. I'm going to get on the speaker and be a go-go dancer. And he's like, yeah, that'd be great. But that never happened. It's almost like when I got into town, he sort of like, I don't know if I want my little sister here. We were living in Gardnerville, Nevada at the time with my mom and my sister. And I was like, I got to get out of here. I just want to be a dancer. And I came down, and she's like, well, stay with Donnie. And I go, okay, that sounds fun. As soon as I got there, he's like, listen, it's going to be my way or the highway. Okay, we'll see about that. And him and I actually got in a physical fight because I just stood up to him. I didn't let him boss me around. He could be scary if he wanted to be, but I wasn't going to let him boss me around.
Wow.
So,
over what? Do you remember what you fought over?
It's more of the case of he wanted his privacy, and we were living in a one-bedroom, and I had the bedroom, and he had the couch, and he wanted to have his space and bring chicks home or whatnot, and I was like, well, I live here too, and so we got in a fight, and we pushed each other, and it was like, this is going to get physical, and he didn't get any further than that, because I don't think he wanted to get in trouble or anything, and I just stood up to him. I wasn't afraid of him at all. He was scary, too. His moods were scary. So you didn't know, if he was going to be moody or not. We pushed each other around, and then that was it. And then we went to our corners. But I think that we had respect for each other. We may not have gotten along, but we respected each other. And we were trying to do something. I wanted to do my dancing. He wanted to do his music. And so different apartments. I would have a different apartment. He'd come by. He'd stay a while. He'd leave. I'd go to another apartment. We'd see each other. We'd hang out. George would be there, and we'd hang out. And then he'd go on his way. And sometimes you wouldn't see him for months. And then sometimes he'd be there, and he'd be cool. But he just was very, very mysterious. He really didn't want us around his music. He didn't really want his family around. I wanted to come see him one time because he had just gotten back into town. They were on tour, and I thought he called, or I called him, or I found out where he was, and I was like, yeah, I want to come see you. He's like, yeah, we're having margaritas up here and drinks and stuff. I said, great. He said, but you know what? You're going to have to wait in line just like the rest. Okay, well, fuck off. I don't know if he was drinking. Maybe he was drinking, and it was reaction to that, but that was the way he was.
That was when he's touring with Ozzy?
Yeah. Even in town, he was just like, you're over here and my friends are over here. I don't want you around my sister, and I don't want her around my gigs. I don't know why, but he just became that way with his family. And yet my mother was very supportive of him and his band, and has always given basses, and she'd always kind of spoil him a little bit. And she was always supportive of his garage bands, and she would help out when she could. And she's 92, and she still listens to rock and roll. If you go to her house, she'll have Queen on. Yeah, she's amazing.
But you were saying she has dementia, or is it kind of early stages?
Yeah, it's kind of early. She's got a little dementia and a little bit of Alzheimer's, so she's got both.
And it kind of comes and goes, though, where she still knows who you are and everything?
Yeah.
And he stopped talking to her even?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Like for all those years, like 30 years?
Yeah. I was really sad that my brother passed the way he did, because he had such a talent and such a personality and such a reputation that preceded him. And even that is something that people talk about for years. It saddens me that his life just ended. We didn't know where he was. A lot of people were looking for him. He just didn't want to be found.
As far as anybody you've talked to, any reasons behind that?
He's never really talked about us, his family, much to people. And I've been talking to his friends. And even with George, he would only... George said he would speak highly of me, but I thought, I don't believe that, because we were definitely at odds when we were in LA together. I thought he hated me. I thought he was competitive, and I wasn't even in his line of work. And I thought, well, I don't know why he doesn't want to hang out and talk and be close, but I guess I'll never know.
Was he living with the girl, or was he just by himself when he passed?
I heard he was by himself. He had stopped off at a convenience store, and they found him on the street.
He just had a heart attack right there and just died, huh?
Yeah, he was right outside his van. So I don't think he was taking care of himself.
You said he was 65?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember his birthday?
Yeah, December 24th.
Do you remember what year he was born?
59.
And do you know the date that he passed?
Yeah, 5/29. So it was just about a month ago. Actually, 3 weeks?
And then what about your dad?
Well, him and my dad got in a big fight, because I don't think my dad was too happy with his attitude. And my dad was a bad drinker. I think that's where he got it. He told my dad to fuck off one time, and my dad said, fine, fuck you. And that was that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But...
that kind of sounds like me and my dad. I just recently talked to him again after like 30 years for the first time.
Really?
So, yeah, I did. And it was really good to reconnect, but I kind of did the same thing where I was just like, fuck your face, and just didn't talk to him. And I didn't hold any grudges, but he's kind of the same way where he did that to his brother. And I don't know what that is. I think it's a curse, though.
Yeah, you think it has to do with just alienating people so you don't hurt people, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. But I would say I have some of that where I would say there's probably friends of mine that are like, wow, he just disappeared.